10-foot level, like, oh, I see why I did it like this. Like, it makes sense to me.
Yes.
And then, of course, I didn't learn everything I know in the last, like, 13 or 14 years that I've been studying this. I mean, I've learned this over my lifetime, and I was in IT and healthcare for 30 years, and part of that, and I ended up kind of in this in-between kind of analyst position that's between the programmers and the business or the customers. And you have to be able to communicate like two different languages. People who speak two different languages, you're like the translator to get the programmers to understand what the customer needs.
Yes.
And a lot of times, the programming stuff can be very technical and it's cumbersome and it's abstract, and the customer will look at you like you have 10 heads if you talk to them like you talk to the programmer. So I think throughout my career, I've kind of learned to kind of synthesize the information, then try to organize it and explain it in a way that's complicated concepts, explain them in a simple way.
Very simplified.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I just realized that now. I thought, well, that comes from my IT background, that I was able to construct, create the structure and form around the book.
So many times when we start grasping a new concept, it is difficult because we do speak another language. It's like if when I went into the Army, man, next thing I know, I'm talking a complete different language. You didn't even realize it until I came back to the civilian life, and I said, oh yeah, it's time for chow. I never said the word y'all before. Now I use it all the time. 45 years later, 43 years later, and it's like understanding these modalities, understanding these from a perspective that you can not just observe but do hands-on. It makes it so handy. I mean, I'm just going to look at some of these: heart disease, stroke, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and then the healing modalities. It's like breathing, qigong, tai chi, yoga, and then the pages where you can reference it. It's like, oh yeah, this is what the world needs, man.
It's like a reference manual, right?
A reference manual.
It's like I have an issue. There's something that's going on. Does it say anything in here about what I'm going through? And if it does, it's like, oh, well, let me see if I can try this. And again, getting the experience, I think, is what, the more you have an experience, the more you're like, you get all in. You're like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this. This is great. It makes a difference, and I feel better.
Absolutely. And that's what people want: results.
Yeah. They want something to happen.
Yeah. And more and more people are turning, and I don't want to say away from the American Medical Association, but they're turning away from synthetic drugs. They're turning away or turning more toward natural modalities. They're turning more toward energy, and they're understanding that metaphysics is not a devil. There's a lot of merit to crystal healing that we always shunned before, and now it's all of a sudden really coming to light that this is real stuff.
Yeah, and again, it's not too what I want to say. That the crystals themselves have an energetic field themselves, and so when you think about it, like if you're trying to, there's certain frequencies, like the note C is very much like a heart frequency. So if you find a stone that resonates at a frequency that's similar or close to the frequency of the note C, why wouldn't that maybe make the heart be bathed in the frequency that it works at best, rather than some really sharp or dissonant frequency that's going to be going against the natural frequency of the heart? And so same thing with any kinds of tissues. Injured tissue has a different frequency than healthy tissue. You surround injured tissue with healthy tissue, the injured tissue is like, oh, well, maybe it's not so bad, because our bodies tend to overreact to injuries. Like they swell up, get inflamed, they start building scabs, they get really kind of crazy, because that's kind of a primitive holdover from when we were out in the wild. I mean, you didn't have time to put neosporin and put on a Band-Aid. You were just out, and if it didn't protect itself with all this other stuff, you get an infection and you could die. So I think, the body knows, and I think that the more we have the experiences, the more we start to actually create them for ourselves. But the crystals definitely, with the different frequencies, I am noticing that they do have certain characteristics that seem to facilitate different types of experiences. And that's the best way I can say it. And when you think about it too, because the crystals are usually a similar kind of atom that's just in a crystalline structure. Okay, so a diamond is just carbon atoms all in a cubical structure, and they form this super toric field. So if you think of each carbon atom has this kind of toric field, now you multiply that, and it's very highly structured in a crystal, right? It's not just like random carbon. It's like it's very much organized. And so you think, now you have this amplified carbon toric field. It's like, wow, what does that do? You know, what happens there? And mostly like diamonds and quartz and some of these other crystals, they amplify. So this is an energetic frequency that amplifies anything around it. It'll energize it. So when you think about using crystals, you're like, well, let's amplify the healthy tissue and see if it'll help the injured tissue or the tissue that needs a little bit of TLC, you know, something that's going on.
Yes.
So that's how I see it, and I think that the Western doctors are starting. I mean, they always say, well, you know, the thing these days is kind of, well, if it works, keep doing it. You know, it's not hurting you, it's not going to kill you. You're like,
I don't want to know. Yeah.
Some of them do. Some of them are very, very. I've had doctors ask me about cranial sacral therapy, and asking me about how it works, and they get really kind of intrigued, because I think it's just kind of physiologically based enough that they have an understanding of, like, oh, when I talk about moving the bones of the skull, you know, and watching how the rhythm and the cerebrospinal fluid flows through the brain and down the spinal cord, that starts to make sense to them. Even though to them, sitting with someone at a table and putting your hands underneath their skull and holding it without doing anything for 20 minutes, they're like, how can anything happen that way? And then you start explaining this to them, they're like going, well, actually, that kind of makes sense, that something will change. So that, I like that. I like when I keep getting kind of corroboration, like, yeah, see, this is a sound modality, and I think that we want to find things that aren't. I mean, modern medicine is amazing; it's done amazing things, but I think that that it's so easy when we make progress very quickly, technologically even. Just if anything, in the last 150, 200 years. They tend to go like the path of least resistance. Like, it's like we're going to build the tallest building we can build, or we're going to build the biggest jet. You know, like kind of go down, and then we start thinking, wait a minute, maybe there's medium-sized jets that work better, or medium-sized things, so we kind of can pull back. So we get a little myopic, I think, with technology, and we can't see forest through the trees. And this kind of stuff, hopefully, like you said, opening the minds of some of the Western medicine folks to at least acknowledge that there might be something else. And that's where I love, like, opening that little door for them, and I go, oh, okay, maybe there's something to look at here. And I love that now they're just saying, oh yeah, go tell their patient, well, do this and this, and you're going to take these pills, but go ahead and go. And then, you know, if you say, no, well, I've been doing this thing, and my blood pressure seems like it's lower, do I have to take my medicine? They're like, well, stay off it for a couple of weeks, let's see what happens. And all of a sudden they find out, well, they don't need their blood pressure medicine anymore. You know, there's stuff that can happen. And I think it's happening, but it's, you know, like all great things, it'll be a little slow to happen. And then often we have these step functions, you know. It goes along, we're kind of made it, and all of a sudden some big realization will come, or there'll be some piece of data they can collect that absolutely proves that these modalities do something, and then all of a sudden everybody wants in and says, oh, what's this? This is great.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I was listening to you, and I was thinking about one of my friends that I've been working with, and she went to the doctor and called us up last week, and she says, my blood sugar is balanced, my A1C is great, my triglycerides were great, my blood pressure was even great, and the doctor says, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. They don't even want to know.
That's so interesting.
So when you said that, it's like, yeah, I get it, man. And it's like, man, I was a part of that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Being a healer comes with some responsibilities. You know, people call you, they depend on you, they trust you, and it's really it's not just a responsibility, but it really is an honor, you know, to impact people's lives in that way.
100%. And it's always, it's something that I do with, gosh, this is, again, words, when you start going to these places, the words get a little bit harder to find. But basically, it's like I create a space before I see a client. Just not even, like, it's not some big step-by-step way to create the space. It's like when I'm lighting the candles, when I'm setting up the room, when I've already started creating the space for which we're going to work. Mm-hmm. And then I make sure that we call it, that I'm in rapport with my client, that we're like, we're on the same page, we kind of know why we're there, we kind of know what we're going to be doing, and we kind of enter the space and approach it as a team, Mm-hmm. We're both doing, or we're both technically not doing something together. Because you just hold the space, because the body's much smarter than me for sure, and it's going to be doing what it needs to do. But I think it's just creating, and that's another book that might be in the makings, is about fields and fields, but creating containers, like energetic containers, to do any kind of work in, ritual work, grief work, death and dying work,
depression.
Yeah, anything. But you create. I mean, when you think about it, in the old days, the people got together, they gathered, and they create a space for a ritual or an event to happen. Mm-hmm. And more and more, that feels like that's between sound and creating containers. I think we're setting ourselves up to optimizing the way that our bodies really can work and stay healthy for one, and then heal if we need to heal.
Mm-hmm. Sound. When you say between sound, what exactly are you referring to sound?
Oh, when we think about sound, sound is I think of as frequency.
Frequency.
So if I think of whatever, a crystal ball, the Tibetan singing bowls, gongs, any of these things that cause
tuning forks,
and that's kind of in a sine wave, right? So mm-hmm. It's not dissonant usually, but dissonance has its place too. It can break up, clogged pipes. Mm-hmm. But I think that the power of sound is just barely coming into being, because there was like a breakthrough in light. They understood the frequency of light and created lasers. A whole world opened up, right?
A completely new technology, yes.
And I have a feeling that something is happening, that sound is going to be, they're going to figure out, like, either, I'm thinking really high frequency sound that can actually penetrate things. And when you have a frequency of sound that certainly the amplitude matters and the frequency, so it affects the inner workings of each cell at that level, and even the DNA. Mm-hmm. And then get back down to, like, okay, but what's the toric field of DNA? Mm-hmm. What's the energetic field around? So you have the physical structure of the DNA. Now, well, what's the electromagnetic field around that? Mm-hmm. And when that field changes, does it turn on and turn off different parts of your DNA? Mm-hmm. Does it stop the cancer gene from being crazy because now it has a more harmonious frequency that you're surrounding it with? I mean, I don't know, but I like to think that it's going to be like healing will be like, oh, you go into this room and you have this, like, these kind of like sound lasers that that go straight to the place. And they already have different kinds. They have what are they called, TNS or whatever, some of the things that have the electrical impulses. So that's kind of similar. Again, it's like energy, mm-hmm. Directed and focused on a certain place. So I think that's where I see it kind of heading anyway.
Well, both Einstein and Tesla predicted that medicine would be all frequency in the future. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Yeah.
No. That's exactly. exactly how I think that's exactly where we're headed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that someone like Tesla, they didn't want. Now, I think they can make a light bulb that can last for 100 years with no problem drawing very little energy at all, but they don't want that because you can't make money off of that. And I think Tesla, when he basically proposed the idea and proved that it worked, that you can actually create energy, harness energy from the electromagnetic field of the Earth,
Cost free.
by spin.
Yeah.
It was like with no money. They're like, no. You need to like stay really quiet because we can't make enough of that machine.
You bet.
So.
And a lot of people don't know that about history, and you know how Thomas Edison really, and J.P. Morgan put that all, and I don't want to blame someone, but that's not really a blame game, but essentially what they did was they eliminated this technology. If you look back in the 30s even, they had electric trolley cars, and they were really big, and man, Big Oil saw that, and they said, no, trash it. And so, yeah, I was just watching the movie Tucker, the true story of this guy who invented a car that had the first seat belts and had so many safety features, and big oil and, you know, the big three automakers, they shut him down. I mean, they were not going to have anything to do with that because it was out of the box, you know, and it was, like you say, it was going to take away from their bottom dollar.
And I think, like, energetically, I'll even go, since we're talking about energy, like, we can start talking about astrology and kind of like energetic fields of the planets and the solar system. And I think that there are different ages, and like the age of Aquarius is upon us, and we're moving into it. And I think the technological age was, you know, it was essential, and it was the peak of hierarchical thinking. It's like it was like, you know, the gathering of the masses to come together and work towards a common purpose, led by, you know, the boss, the CEO, who you know, handles all things, and that's the astrological energies of today aren't the same as they were then, and they really aren't supporting very well this hierarchical structure anymore. And now we ideally, and it's you know, it's these are all sacred geometry anyway. It's the Star of David, right? So if you flip the triangle on its tip, now it's like everybody is responsible for the well-being of everybody else. Every single person. Is rather than the other way around, where we're all taking care of this guy, this way, this guy's taking care of everyone. So when we make these fundamental, I see it like almost rocking back and forth, like it's trying to find enough energy to go, like when you're trying to get a car not stuck anymore.
Momentum.
Until finally it's going to go bam like this, and we're going to go, oh, the way it all works is when we help each other. Not compete against each other, but really help each other. And so I think the energy of the times today is really lending itself to having that experience and realizing why it's been a benefit to us. And often it comes at a cost of the old energies fighting to not go away. Like, so it's like this last gasp. Everybody, you see it in politics, you see it in corporations, you see it, the people holding all the power are getting very, very nervous because they're realizing they might not be able to hold it all, and they shouldn't. I mean, we all should have, you know, we all go into this together. And I think we can simplify our lives enough so that everybody has what they need to create a lifestyle that's comfortable for them. And we start to realize the materialism has been one big, you know, programming thing that we've been taught since we were little kids, since the advent of radio or something. I think advertising was starting to tell us what we needed to do. So I think the energy of the moment really is, I think, bending towards this.
The other end, the pendulum swings the other way.
So you go from the Piscean energy of pushing and pushing and pushing to the, I think it's kind of Aquarian, but I think of it even as the feminine energy, you know, this is the masculine. The feminine, you know, it's the womb, it's the first, second chakras, you know, third chakra, it's the bottom chakra is very grounded and firm, and still connected. still connected to spirituality, still connected to the creator force, and grounded in the Mother Earth. You know, so this is it's an amazing time to be experimenting with all of this, and it's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. It's fascinating. It's like, oh, I want more. You know, it's like you have this delicious dish, and you're so full, but you just have to have another bite. You know, it's like, give me more. I want this. You know, and I can, looking at your book, it gave me that feeling, Victor. I mean it. I felt like, oh, this is put in a way that the common, you know, anyone can pick this book up and understand, oh, you know, the energy healing arts. What does that mean to me? You know, not just what it means, but what does it mean to me, the reader? And that makes it so much more valuable of a read because it's useful. So, and I highly am recommending people read this book. I mean, it's such a useful tool. Oh, before I forget, guys, we got to do a station identification break. You are watching, thank you for joining us, guys. If you're just joining us, you are watching The Weekend Boost. This is KUHS, the stream on Melody Drive. Today we are interviewing my friend Victor Archuleta, author and hero, The Power of Energy Healing. And what a simplified book that we're looking at, because it makes it so that you don't have to be a practicing meditation artist, or you don't have to be a guru, you don't have to be a doctor, or you don't have to have education in natural healing at all. If you just pick this book up with an open mind, it's really a tool that you can benefit from and use. I got to share with you, I can't wait to see you next time we go down to New Mexico. We got to set some time aside, but Dee and me just purchased this device. It's called the Rife machine. And Royal Rife actually, back in the 30s, started discovering frequency. You know, you can sing a note and it breaks a glass, and that matched the frequency. It resonates. And he discovered 54,000 frequencies, from cancer to prostate cancer to glioblastoma to hay fever. I mean, he's discovered every one of these corresponding frequencies, exactly what you were talking about. And this device can actually, you can use TENS pads, but you can hook it up to you, and you can actually put these frequencies right into your body. And I mean, it's just such amazing new technology.
Yeah, and I think again, the more we try it ourselves,
yes,
you know, it just makes such a difference, because you lean into it then, and then everything starts to become more clear, and we become more and more aware of it. And I wanted to mention too that, you know, in this book I talk, you know, about energy and different modalities of energy healing, and I just wanted to emphasize that it doesn't happen, you know, in a vacuum by itself. I mean, this is part of you know, taking good care of yourself and eating well and using maybe essential oils, or drinking certain kinds of teas, medicinal teas, and really working with all of the amazing modalities that are out there, working with crystals, working with all the different kinds of, you know, even some more of the more mechanical things, you know, myofascial release, and people are learning so much about fascia now these days too, and that's a really important, I'd say even organ of the body that offers structure and huge communication. We're just learning. So when we combine all of these ideas and approach them, what I love about my practice and my sessions is someone comes in with a certain issue, and I get to approach it from a lot of different angles. And you know, I think one of them might even make any difference at all, but together it seems like you're either it might be some synergy that could occur because you're doing more than one thing at the same time. I just think it's important to remember there's not like a one size fits all for any one person or for any modality.
Wow.
And so I like the idea of this is very personalized in that I go at it from what does this person need, and let's create the space for that, and at the same time knowing that there are a lot of different ways to get there. So I like the idea of multimodality approaches to energy healing, for sure.
And Victor, have you noticed that as you've become more adept or more mature at your craft, that all of a sudden these answers just come to you? Like you just have this universe just telling you, hey, this is the stone to use. Get the rose quartz, put that malachite down.
Most of it is intuitive for me. I don't think about it too much because my biggest challenge has been trying not to think about it too much, trying not to figure it out. I mean, I went to school in Los Alamos, I went to UC San Diego. I mean, all of these are math, science, left brain, right brain, art, whatever, feelings, intuition, whatever. And so it's been a really great transition that I've gone from, with my early life being very left-brained into like this in-between time, and now I really feel like I'm settling into this right-brain way of being and living my life. And it's interesting that you asked the question. I had my bodywork guy that works on me kind of recommended this book, and it's an amazing book that has a lot of different kinds of techniques, and it really is about working with restrictions in your body of all sorts, muscular, tendons, ligaments, fascia, anything that kind of can get stuck. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh, like I already do that. And I'm like, oh, I do that too. Like, no one's taught me to do it. I just learned, I know that here is a spot that really, when you release this, it really helps. Or back in here, there are a couple places people think trigger points maybe, and as I kept reading, and then I started flipping through it, I'm like, this is really strange. Like, I feel like I already know a lot of what's in this book. And it made me feel like, you know what, don't ever doubt that whatever is going on, because something is happening that is making me more aware of the gift that I have to offer. And I see my work as an offering, as a service to people's well-being. And I think the more I stay in that space, I don't know where it comes from, if it's past life stuff. I don't know why and how I've become able to intuitively kind of know. He talks about seeing the organs of the body, and I was a biomedical engineer at UCSD, and so I know like the mechanics of the body. I know the anatomy of the body, I know the physiology of the body. All of that was kind of baked into my left brain. So when I work on people, I close my eyes and I can see, like in my mind's eye, I can see the different parts of the body and kind of where I'm at, and I can kind of start to feel like, I can tell, that's the large intestine. I can kind of tell, where I'm at in the body. And again, it feels like it's mostly intuitive, but I know there's part of it is I learned. And so I think it's just trusting and allowing the whole process, and not questioning too much, because left brain can get us tangled up.
It's almost like the two worlds have blended and become, just like one trunk line that's beneficial.
Yeah, they contribute. Yeah, there's like a complementary, synergistic kind of effect of, now I just show up, and someone's coming to me tomorrow that she tweaked her back, and I said, oh, okay, well, come on in, let's see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I can help. I don't know if she'll be fine when she gets there, or if she'll barely be able to move when she gets there. But what I do know is that I'm going to create a space for us to be in, and we'll see what unfolds, and be present and listening and asking questions are probably the most important things. That's what I do with my clients, and sometimes that's half of what they need, is just to be heard and to be seen.
Man, oh man, isn't that the truth? Yeah. I go to the VA hospital for my medical care, and I went for a physical this week, and I typically have a woman doctor, and when I'm in there, I feel very cared for. There's bedside manner. There's a personal, one-to-one, eye-to-eye, feeling. And when I went there, my doctor was actually on maternity leave, so I had to see a male doctor. And when you talk about the divine feminine, I am so aware and so thankful that I am aware of that, because when I went in there, this doctor was pleasant, he was kind, he was nice, he was very attentive, but the bedside manner, it's lacking. And I don't know where this came from, but it's just like there is truly a difference in someone who genuinely wants to make a difference for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it occurs in different ways, and I think even that kind of a situation, I think of, I think of energy again. There's masculine energy and feminine energy, and I think the masculine energy can stay kind of detached and thinking and explaining, and the feminine energy wants to make contact and hold and nurture and listen and comfort. And I think it's something that in that case, the guy maybe doesn't have a lot of experience being with the feminine energy in himself, and so that's not there. He could easily be just as attentive and nurturing as your female doctor, and she could be as detached and thinking as the male guy. And I think that what's so great is when we start to get in touch with that and experience it for ourselves. Like, when am I tender and sweet and caring, and when am I showing up and pushing and making sure that things get done and rallying these are two different energies that we all can hold if we choose to. And so in this case again, you are feeling the difference. And I think it's something to notice for all of us. And I think ideally, at least for me, I like being able to play ball. I like to be able to say, oh, now I need, in this situation, I need to stand up and push forward. And in this situation, I need to yield and hold and create a space and listen. There's a way of navigating life such that we learn. I always call it like Space Mountain, on the roller coaster. If you don't know when to let go and when to hold on, you're not going to have a fun ride.
That's a good analogy.
When you should be, you're going to get knocked around, and then if you're holding on too tight when you're having the fun little part where, where you should be able to lift your arms up and go, oh, this is great, because you're scared to hold on, it's not going to be nearly as much fun either.
Wow.
So, life very much like that. I tease and kind of joke about it, but it basically is a combination of, a lot of people of a certain age, or not of a certain age, won't understand, but Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and Space Mountain kind of are like two symbols of life for me. One of them is the experience of letting go and holding on, knowing when to do which. And Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is all about the unexpected, not knowing what's happening next, and you don't know if you're going to be scared or surprised and happy, or something fun's going to happen, or it's going to be, terrifying. And so both of those things are metaphors for life for me. So being comfortable with not knowing, and knowing sometimes it's going to be scary, and that's okay. And other times where just don't be so afraid that you're not able to enjoy the fun and silly times too.
Hey, Victor, I want to make sure to put a plug in for your business. If someone wanted to hire you, you're in the Santa Fe, New Mexico area. If somebody wanted to hire you for your services, how would they reach you?
You can do it either one of two ways. You can go to my website. It's either victorarchuleta.com or spaceforwellness.com. And both of them, you can reach out that way. But I thought this was a little bit bigger, but I don't know. But that's basically...
Yeah, I can see that. A Space for Wellness, Victor Archuleta. So guys, please, if you are in the Santa Fe area especially, I've known Victor for a couple of years now, and man, I got to tell you, if you want someone who's going to give you some craniosacral therapy, I love that term. I've never heard the term.
That's a whole nother show.
But yes, get a hold of Victor, because I tell you, if you want someone with some compassionate care that's going to give you results that are really effective, I believe that this is a really good resource. Also, of course, his book. You have other books too. You have 3 other books. So, Victor Archuleta, he's a name that's up and coming, and you're going to see more and more of him. Let's go back to the book, and just as I'm going through these ailments, it goes all the way from muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, peripheral neuropathy, diabetes. So every one of these conditions has a reason for coming here, but every one of these has things that you can benefit and feel better from. When I look at diabetes, it goes in and explains this disorder, and then healing modalities, deep relaxation, meditation, and something as simple as that may make a huge difference for you.
Yeah, because it really, a lot of these elements are really the results and symptoms of stress. And when it's all
Stress.
said and done, the cortisol that gets released in our bodies that can cause so much inflammation, not just in our blood vessels, which I think causes so much of the cardiovascular disease is inflamed blood vessels, but organs, you know, the liver doesn't like to be inflamed, the kidneys don't want to be inflamed, nothing wants to have that, and the cortisol just, you know, it's there for a reason, you know, it protects you. You've got to do something emergent and something is dangerous. You've got to be able, your body has to go into a certain mode to be able to function.
Mm-hmm.
But as a society, again, we've kind of been programmed that, you know, it's never enough and we got to keep going and we got to keep going and we can't stop and we get stressed out and we stay stressed out. And that state of anxiety produces so much cortisol that takes so much to metabolize and get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
And so these exercises release endorphins. They all release serotonin and activate your dopamine and all the great chemicals that do the opposite of the cortisol, and that reduces and relaxes your heart muscle, and you know, it really releases tension, and so we're not holding it all the time. We get to kind of like let it go. So it seems a little simplistic, but I think in general, a lot of it really is about not being anxious, or better said, knowing how to stay relaxed even in crazy situations.
Mm-hmm. I remember I went for physical therapy. I was having my knees worked on, and I walked in there and I was like this. I didn't even realize it. And my therapist says, "Look at yourself. Go to the mirror and look at yourself." I'm like, oh my gosh. She said, "Drop your shoulders." You know, and I dropped my shoulders. She says, "There's your problem. There's a big part of your problem is you are so tensed up. You even walk like you're tensed up." And it's like, wow, what a revelation for me.
And things as simple as breathing, like breathing deeply. When we breathe deeply, our diaphragm, you know, pushes our organs down, and they get like this. You get this organ massage when we do this long, deep breathing, and that really like moves things and makes sure that things aren't stuck.
Aligns, yes.
It's like, you know, it gets things, you know, so that they're moving the way they're supposed to, and they because everything is hooked together. Everybody's talking to each other, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Our body is an amazing miracle of creation.
Truly.
And I think it behooves us to be aware of what we are doing and not doing to our bodies.
Who have been some of your inspirations?
Oh my goodness, I get inspired by the body workers that I go to. You know, the people that I feel like I go to them like as teachers almost. And I get inspired by people, because it's not my generation, but that are so committed to this work, and they go out there and on social media and push their work, and you know, they're champions, and they're doing TED Talks, and they're doing, you know, they're going off and making this kind of work known to the masses, these influencers or whatever, and I'm like, go for it. You know,
yes.
It's not my turn for that, and that's fine with me. But I'm inspired by their passion and commitment to health, wellness, and well-being, for sure.
So they're all really all around us. All we got to do is just look. Yeah.
There are resources everywhere. Yeah. So you don't have to come see me. Go find somebody next to you wherever you are, and if you're in New Mexico anytime, let me know. And if you want to come in for a session, I'm happy to work. Happy to work with you.
I understand you do sound baths. What is a sound bath?
Just think about it being bathed by frequencies.
Yes.
So basically I have 10 quartz crystal bowls that I set up in a little semicircle, and a 30-inch pasty gong. And I just have like a sequence of playing where people lay on the floor, like in a yoga studio, on yoga mats. And I start playing all the different bowls, and then I have a little section where I do just the gong for a while, and then I finish up with a little bit more gong work and some tuning forks, and it just ends up being kind of a very freeing and relaxing experience.
It is. I've been in a sound bath, and I have a couple of, you know, singing bowls, and I have tuning forks, and oh my gosh, when my daughter told me that you were doing those, and I said, what is that? You know, I was so excited, and when I couldn't replicate it with only 3 bowls, but man, I got to tell you, just the little bit of sound that I was able to produce in my house, I felt like, oh, I got to share this quick story too. The other night we were having dinner, and Dee, my wife's grandson, was there, and he was playing with my singing bowls with the mallet, and he was gonging them, and all of a sudden his mom goes, "Stop, stop! It's hurting my heart." And I said, "I'm so glad you told me this, because this is telling me that you have a sensitivity that we need to work on, you know." And I explained to her about the soft side and the hard side of the mallet, how it's got the felt on one side and the wood on the other. And I believe that hard side is for when you have to address something like that's really harmful to someone. And so I love the idea that you offer this service.
Yeah, and it's amazing that, just real quick too, like the gong, when I was doing it pretty regularly in LA, I had 3 different instances, 3 different times, with 3 different people, where after the gong work, which can be really intense, because the gong can get really, really big, different people that came in with shoulder pain that they'd had for like quite a long time, completely resolved. Like something about the shoulder frequency and the gong, something, I don't know what it is, I don't really care.
Yes.
But I know that something made a difference. By the 3rd one, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like something is going on here.
Yeah, this is real. Yeah.
I think there's a lot that happens that we don't even, we're not really aware of. But it's really amazing, and there's a lot more to come, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Guys, I mean, if you look at this book, Chapter 3, Energy, the Energy Healing Arts, I mean, it's really, really helpful for you to understand this, from Qigong, martial arts, yoga, Tai Chi, Feldenkrais, sorry. See, I mean, there's things in here, Pilates, yes. There's just things in here that are shiatsu, Thai yoga. There's so many things that are useful to reader, and not just entertain, but to really apply these Thai yoga, yoga dance, kundalini. I mean, there's just idea after idea. And if one of these don't work for you, go to the next page. There's useful tools. I mean, these are applicable. Here's the one, and then we talked a little bit about it, breathing. I think improper breathing is probably responsible for more mental health, more bad teeth, more ill health than probably any other practice that we can do. And yet, it is such a simple approach to health.
Very much so. Exactly.
And I mean, it's endless. I mean, page after page, water.
There's so much information out there. It's like you find one and you try something and you're like, wow, this one I like, I want to know more.
Yes.
Or call me, and I'm happy to talk to people about it too. I mean, it's great to get context around each of these.
Yes.
But there's tons out there. The book is just kind of a nice little condensed little place to explore and learn. It's just the beginning,
Oh man, I love this. Okay, I'm just gonna throw this out there, guys. Let's say that you're interested in aromatherapy, but you have no idea what it is. This is so well laid out. It goes right here: proficiency level, beginners, practitioner support, independent or practitioner, benefits, calmful, blissful, healing, balancing, energizing. I know from experience that this is all true too, man. Equipment required: therapeutic grade essential oils. You can take this information, simply read it and understand it, and start using them in your own life, guys. I mean, this is such a worthwhile read. I mean it. Healing exercises. Here's something else. Most of the time, healers will tell you, okay, here's what you got to do. Meditation. Okay, what does that mean? Here's some exercises for you. Oh, so what you've done is you've not only given me the idea of how to do it, but you've shown me how to use these tools to make my life better.
It's a practical approach, yes.
So I love that. I love it. I always heard the term WIIFM. What's in it for me? You. It's all for you, the reader. Guys, it's all for you.
Yeah, and IT we call it WIFM.
And we call what?
WIFM.
WIFM, yes. What's in it for me? Guys, Victor, I can't believe this hour's already over.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's been such a pleasure. I just love listening to you. You have so much to share and so much to offer. And Victor, I definitely want to have you back on our show again soon, because I mean, you have so many concepts, and maybe one of these days we can see a videotape of Sound Bath, because I think it's something that really, really is exciting.
Sure. And I like the idea too, maybe talking more about craniosacral therapy or some of the modalities, maybe a little bit more in depth to talk about how they, how we think they work.
Absolutely.
And how we do them, so it's pretty cool. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been a wonderful hour.
It's been great. It's been great. Guys, you have been watching The Weekend Boost on KUHS, the stream on Melody Drive. I am your host, Paul Lane. Go to Barnes & Noble today and pick up this book, The Power of Energy Healing. Simple practices to promote well-being. Guys, I guarantee you this. If you don't look better, feel better, or have a better sense of well-being, you didn't read this book. Get this book today. Thank you for joining us. I have some really exciting guests coming up, as I told you. And again, everybody's looking for a hero. If you can't find one, be one. Victor, thank you for being a hero. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All righty. Thank you again.